you know how you do things as a kid and you enjoy it because you get to play in ensembles with other kids, and you know, my big brothers and sisters were all playing instruments, so I thought, oh yeah, I'll do that too, you know. But there's a sort of a defining moment where you think, hold it, this is really cool, and actually this really, like, I can connect with this in a different way. And that moment came for me when I was about 14. I was a ring-in at the last minute to play in the Queensland University Orchestra. They were putting on a concert for their, I think, their star graduates to do a movement of a concerto each with orchestra. And they didn't have enough oboes, and they were scrounging around, like, really, to get a high school student really scrounging. And it was just a completely overwhelming experience for me. First, really thrown in the deep end with these concerto movements. Concertos are often, particularly romantic concertos, they're quite, lots of rubato, quite free. It's not that easy to follow, you know. It's not a question of just counting 8 bars of 4/4. Sometimes, you know, there's a cadenza, there's a bar that's suddenly free, and you just have to kind of, like, find your way. It was all a bit of a shock for me, but there was this one guy who'd played the first movement of Schumann Piano Concerto. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it is just the most divine music. And I just thought he was like, oh my God, he's such a spunk. He had a beard. He was so manly. And he was so expressive when he played, you know. And I just thought, wow, oh my God, this is incredible, you know. And also, it really touched me emotionally, the music. It's a very romantic piece and very rhapsodic, and I just thought, I had no idea music like this had been written. I mean, wow, you know, it really, really spoke to me. Touring for Musica Viva next year around Australia, I'm really, really looking forward to just having some time to myself in a hotel room where I don't have to worry about tidying, washing the towels, things like that, little things like that. Perhaps getting a little more sleep than usual, and having the ability to structure my own day pretty much as I see I need it. And my experience is from past trips that I've done like that is that I get way more practice done because I really only have that to focus on, and that actually feels like a real luxury, just being able to completely immerse myself in music, practice a lot, really think about the music a lot, and make sure that I'm in really good physical shape for the concerts. That's really hard to answer. I don't think I'd be anything scientific. I like to write. I like to, I think I have a sort of a creative side, whether that's with art or music or something, I don't know, but that's something I'd like to explore. If I could invite anyone at all for dinner tonight, wow, it would be very hard to choose. Part of me is very sorry that I never got to meet or play for or see what it's like to work with Leonard Bernstein. He just seems to me to have been such a generous character, somebody who had every respect for tradition and yet had this fire, this original fire at the same time, and also acknowledged the need for music to reach people on an unconscious level, not just an intellectual one, and I think that's really important. He seems to have been quite a character. I'm not sure I could handle the chain smoking, but anyway, if he agreed to just duck outside for a ciggy, then he could stay for dinner. And this is actually something a bit creepy, maybe. I like to listen to Adam Spencer in the mornings on the radio. I reckon he'd be really cool if you could get a word in. Adam Spencer is incredibly intelligent, like mind-bogglingly intelligent, but also very well-spoken. I like the way he chooses his words, and I find that would be really interesting to meet him. I actually heard him interview my dad's cousin once, who is a scientist who at the moment is quite involved in the debate about climate change. So his name's Peter Doherty, and although I have met him in the past, it was a long time ago, it's not a branch of the family that I get to see very often, unfortunately, but I'd love to invite him for dinner and just see those two having a chat. That'd be brilliant. And I've still got one left, haven't I? Maybe a woman, a really groovy woman would be great. Somebody really artistic and interesting. Oh, they'd be love. Maybe Camille Claudel, or she was a bit loony, I know, but she was, Rodin's mistress and fantastic sculptor, or some kind of artist, and, perhaps we could all get our hands dirty and paint something after dinner and, make it a complete experience. Outside music, things I feel really passionate about are women's rights, and yes, the environment, the climate debate. It's hard. It's more the problem that it's hard not to feel passionate about things, I think. When you're kind of a musician, artistic temperament, I guess it's easy to get carried away by the emotion of things like this. So that's partly why I really admire people who can express themselves so well intellectually, because I tend to get too emotional about things. Somehow when the stars align and you actually have a situation where your instrument's actually really working for you and you don't have to think too much about that, and you can go that step further and really immerse yourself in the music, and the music you're playing is wonderful, and the conductor is really, for example, in an orchestral situation, you feel this kind of communication with the conductor, and the audience is really attentive and really part of the whole experience. Well, there are moments like that you feel like, I don't know, I've never been surfing, but maybe like you're surfing on a wave or something. It's just where all the stars align and you think, wow, what could possibly be better than this? Yeah. They don't come that often, because if they did, I guess, I don't know, someone would try to bottle that and sell it. But it makes everything else worth it, those moments. Yeah. I see chamber music and recitals pretty much as a very similar thing. Perhaps chamber music I get to sit down rather than a recital I have to stand up. But as opposed to an orchestral situation where you have somebody out the front, a conductor, who is taking responsibility musically for the overall interpretation. What's wonderful about chamber music is that you are absolutely part of that overall responsibility, and I think that's why it's such an important part of a musician's life, chamber music, because it's exactly where you get to try and test your own musical knowledge, your sensitivities, your instincts, and you have to be able to express it with your colleagues and work on how to put that all together into something that is coherent.